Yes, welcome back to the Olympic City, and it's a bit of a change for me being on an overseas jaunt and having Max Presnell back at home for a change in the Sydney studio. Max, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be here, actually, but certainly I'd say our weather conditions are a little bit cooler than yours.
And Wayne Wilson, of course, used to this humid weather that we're experiencing here in Atlanta, Wayne.
Well, not this morning, David. It's very cold in Brisbane this morning. You've got the heat all to yourself over there, matey.
OK, Max, a great performance over here at Arlington overnight. Cigar equalling one of the great records of all time.
Yes, Citation's record, and of course Cigar will be attempting to break that, I believe, next month, and you would think the way he's going to be the new record holder.
Wayne, there's whispers over here that Queensland racing is in a little bit of turmoil with Greg Hodgson stepping down pending an inquiry.
Yes, well, Greg fired a bit of a skyrocket yesterday at Eagle Farm when he called a press conference and let go with a few allegations that the government should be conducting an inquiry into the running of the Queensland Principal Club here in Queensland. He will make suggestions or representations to the Minister for Racing that he inquires into the running of the QPC. The chairman of the Queensland Principal Club, Mr. Bob Bentley, said it's all pie in the sky stuff. So it'll be just interesting to see whether the Minister does anything after Hodgson's call yesterday.
Well, back to the action and on the track, and of course one of the great meetings is the Ramornie up in the Jacaranda City, Max, and Congrande, what a great horse, he's bobbed up again.
Yes, one of the finest performances, I would say, sprint performances of the season. There is no doubt that the Ramornie field this year was the style of field that wouldn't look out of place in a Newmarket at Flemington or a Stradbroke at Eagle Farm. But it was a very fine performance. The horse carried weight. He came from a wide barrier and skillfully ridden by Wayne Harris.
Max, it's interesting to note that this horse, when he's requested to do something, he can produce Congrande. Tremendous acceleration at the end and sub-34 for the last 600 metres of the race. Like Moss Rocket at this stage looks as though he's going to run to Congrande, but he just kept pushing that little bit extra, Congrande, and he was able to come up trumps to win the Ramornie. And I believe Cliff Bashford is now looking at a race in Japan in December, $2.5 million. He might take him there.
Well, it's that sort of courage that wins 12 out of 13, but the good news is he's not going to be sold to America. I hope he doesn't go to Japan. I say that through purely personal reasons, that I'd like to see a lot more of this horse. This is the sort of draw card Australian racing needs. And well, like, you know, the connections, 2.5 big ones, well, you can't argue with the lure of that, but I'd like to see Congrande do his thing more often on Australian circuits.
Well, we might see him in action in Melbourne during the autumn. I think his intention now is to give him a little bit of a break, miss the spring, or miss most of the spring with him, and directing towards the big races in Melbourne during the autumn. I agree with you. I hope he stays here and thrills the Australian racegoers, Max.
No doubt about that.
Talking about the Melbourne Grand National Steeplechase chase yesterday at Flemington, Max, and that 9-year-old war horse, Best Endeavours, at 15 to 1, got the money, and great jubilation for Pat Hyland.
Yes, but a great racing man is a great racing man, Pat. Great jockey, but as usual, the Grand National Steeple was a spectacular event.
That's one out of the way, Cleve Hill, but he didn't go very fast, so the rider still picks up the check. Over the second, Salary Sun takes over here from outside.
Didn't go very far, that fella, did he?
Yeah, the jockey picks up the check, and it want to be a big one for me to do it.
He just got to the first one and spilled his lollies. It's a great staying performance by this horse under the weight. He gave them quite a start, but really put in over the final stages of the race. And, Max, I think we've got to offer congratulations to Frankie Stockdale, too. This is the boy that had a great career ahead of him on the flat, but weight just got the better of him. And he's obviously had a great association with this horse, Best Endeavours. There he is joining in on the outside. And look how strong he is at the end of 5,000 metres on a track that was rated as heavy. He just starts to draw away from them in the run to the line. Great performance by Best Endeavours, and our congratulations to Stockdale.
Yes, favourite backers were disappointed. Outstride disappointing. Started at 10 to 9 on. Very short price. Wayne to be taking about a horse in a Grand National.
Yeah, 5,000 metres, 28 jumps, and you're taking 5 to 4 on. You can leave me out of them.
Well, I haven't got your reserves, but I certainly wasn't in it either.
Well, what about you yesterday at Eagle Farm with the Ascot Handicap, Wayne, and great success for Brian York?
Yes, Brian York. He's a marvellous rider, isn't he? He spent that time on the sidelines, that injury out of the Gold Coast, but gave a perfect ride on Cohort, and the Hawks run continues here in Queensland. They've won most of our major races during the Carnival. They didn't win the Stradbroke Handicap, and they didn't win the Brisbane Cup, but they've won practically everything else. Cohort coming to the outside as they straighten up. He's about to launch his claim. There he is, back 7th in the Cerise. There was plenty of speed in the early stages. Mr. Woodman Ditman and Queersas. Pride of Kazoo moving up to third. Cohort and All Our Mob on the extreme outside. With a nice little pull in the weights there, Cohort accelerated a bit too quickly for All Our Mob, and Cohort was able to go on and score. Rancho's Coup had to change course a couple of times in the straight. Didn't have a great deal of luck, but Cohort will now be directed towards the gold market. That's in mid-August on the Gold Coast. He's going to have a little bit of an ease up and head for that one down there at the coast, $100,000 race.
Full marks to York, but I'd like to give a congratulations too to Mick Ditman from a wide gate on All Our Mob. It was a hell of a ride too.
Sure, yeah, it was very good.
Well, Max, thank God I can stay away from the tab for the next 2 or 3 weeks, but what about that Black Book special of yours?
Yes, well, I think an old favourite of yours, Moss Rocket, can win with Congrande out of the road. Moss Rocket certainly did well under 60 to perform so prominently behind Congrande, round about a half head. And also Golf Circuit yesterday, the run of the day at Randwick, should have won easily, was beaten. And Cheshire, this is a horse with a bit of substance. I think he has a future, but this 3 will win in the near future. I'm confident about that.
And Wayne, anything from Eagle 5 yesterday to report as far as a couple to follow?
Well, some outstanding performances there, David, but I'll give you something a little bit more immediate. It's Camino Rose in the Pelican Waters Classic on the Sunshine Coast this afternoon. We're heading up there. It's a $500,000 race. Paul Sutherland, the trainer, Mick Ditman, the jockey, good barrier, will win.
One of our producers here. One of our producers here, Brad Smith, was desperately trying to get on Mad Hatter yesterday at Eagle Farm. I think he's lucky he didn't get on. It came dead last, I believe.
Yes, ran last. Stumbled out of the gates and ran last. So, Brad, you've still got the money in the kick.
He's about as good a judge as I am, Wayne. Wayne, Max, thanks for joining us on the special edition of our program from Atlanta.
OK, David, good luck over there.
Thanks very much, Wayne Wilson and Max Presnell joining us in our Sydney and Brisbane studios. The city is alive and we're a week away from the Games of '96.
Hey, you lucky Australian girls. You get photo every Sunday, but don't go away because we'll be right back, broadcasting from the Olympic City.